nice. And also remembrance is a great thing. I mean, life, we go on in life and sometimes we just forget the important things. We forget that as bad as life is sometimes, because of Jesus, I mean, we overcome those things because of what He did in His price. So again, those are just wonderful times that we can have communion together. So good to be back with you. It's always great to go on vacation. Priscilla and I were in the northern part of Michigan last week, and if you've never been, it's gorgeous up there. We were in a little town called Bel Air, Michigan, kind of between Petoskey and Traverse City. I think it's kind of lodged in there. We were about an hour and a half from Mackinac Island. Just gorgeous. On a golf course, we had a condo, and the highlight was sitting on the golf course watching the golfers. We'd see them come up to the first tee, and everybody that looked like a good golfer. Some of them, here's what I found about golfing, right? As long as you look good, right, Caleb? As long as you look the part, and you walk up there confident. So this couple of these guys, they looked the part, man. They walked up there, and they cranked it right about 25 yards right into the thing. Of course, as golfers, they try to nonchalant and hit another one. And then I kid you not, I saw a guy, he didn't have any, he had prosthetics, right? Both waist and no legs. And I kid, in your mind, you're like, well, bless his heart. And guy's playing golf. He steps up there on the championship tees, and I kid you not, he had a drive about, I bet it was 280 yards straight. So, again, it was great watching that because golf is a very frustrating sport if you've never played. And so you could just see some of those guys just on the first tee. And honestly, the first tee is where the pressure is because everybody's watching. I always thought, because. So anyway, enough about golf. It really was nice to get away. But it's great to be back and pick up all of the limbs of the storms that we had, which was a lot, right? So other than that, it's great to be back. And we're in the middle of a parenting, or actually not the middle, this is the end of the Parenting on Purpose series that we're in. Anything that you're successful with in life, you do on purpose. And I like to use the word intentional. I could have said intentional parenting too, right? You want to work out? No, I use workout because for me, that I've been very intentional in that for years. And not to pat me on the back. It's just one thing in my life I found important. And I'm intentional, right? You can be intentional about reading your Bible. You can be intentional about learning to play a guitar or whatever. It's something that you do on purpose. And I will tell you that raising kids, you have to parent on purpose. It doesn't just happen. And I will tell you, I think there are parents nowadays that think that kids raise themselves. And that just doesn't work out well normally. God always has a better plan. So let me ask you a question. How many of you like to give gifts? Any gift givers? How many like to receive gifts? Most of us. And so with our kids, right, and some of us, your kids have been gone a while, others of us, our kids are just now kind of out on their own. We'd like to give gifts. Paris, wow, that's awesome, right? We take our kids on vacations. In fact, Jacob begged to go on this one, and I'm like, buddy, you have a job, right? And now he's working 12 hours a day in the middle of baseball. And he was kind of bummed that, we would FaceTime him in Mackinac Island, and not that we were rubbing it in, or maybe we were, I don't know, You come a point where mom and dad earn that right to go on that vacation, even though we had a great time, the times we had Jacob. So I'm windy this morning. It's been a while. I have not used a lot of words, and so bear with me this morning. So we're going to talk about giving good gifts to our children, and I will try to talk slow because we don't have a projector. So I will stop and highlight what I think, if you're taking notes, you might want to take notes on. So Matthew chapter 7, verse 11 says this. It says, "If then you, though you are evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask Him?" And we're going to talk about giving gifts to our kids, and not just traditional gifts that we think about. Giving gifts that builds a spiritual legacy within our kids, that raises kids. The goal, as a parent, our goal is not just to raise great human beings that go out into the world and become productive, right? We want to do that. We hope they, at some point, leave us, and they're successful in whatever endeavor life brings them, right? But, it's more than that. It is, Scripture tells us, all of our or commands that we're to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, our soul, and our mind. And that is our goal as parents. As not just Christian parents, we talked about that. We don't want to just be Christian parents. We want to be Christ-centered parents. There's a difference. Everybody and their brother is a Christian. Oh, I'm a Christian parent. Oh, okay, great. I want to be Christ-centered. I want everything to acknowledge Him and His goodness. So if you want to turn to me with me, not to me, with me to Deuteronomy chapter 6. We were there a couple of weeks ago, and we're gonna be there again. We're gonna reread that. But parenting, I think we said a couple weeks ago, is difficult. You weren't given a binder that had all of these things when you leave the hospital, right? I mean, you learn a lot. We've only had one, so some of you have had numerous kids, and so hopefully by the third and fourth one, you get this thing down, man, right? You figured this out. You made the mistakes. Well, so it's kind of crazy that in our age now, I will tell you it's more difficult now to raise kids, I believe, than it was 20 years ago. World's different. World's changed. They have so much technology at their fingertips. That's why everybody's so anxious and all of those things that parents fight. So as parents, again, we have to parent on purpose. And we're going to talk about environments. Everybody always says, I can't control who my friends hang out with. No, but you can control the environments, right? You can take them to environments and expose them. And I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Church camps, mission trips, where they're exposed to environments where they meet kids, hopefully of like mind, right? That want to challenge each other and still have fun, but be Christ-following young adults. And you can control the environment. And I wrote this down. I would suggest to you, when it comes to our children, we need to worry less about today's happiness and more about tomorrow's readiness. Yeah, do we want our kids happy? Yeah, but how many of us know? How many of us are always happy? Growing up, we were always happy? No. But we raise our kids for readiness, right? We raise our kids to withstand and understand the trials of life. Right? I mean, with Tina, they just come up. They just happen. And we raise our kids to have this confidence in God, that He's the anchor in those storms and in those good times. And so it's so important to raise kids, not just that we want them happy, but we want them ready. Right? So we talk about gifts, and there's actually some things that we give our kids that are hurting them. I'm going to give you 3 really quick. First one is we give them things they don't earn. You ever been in a store, maybe it was one of your kids, and they're screaming, I want this sucker, right? Or I want this. And sometimes parents get that and give that to them. They didn't earn that. So we raise them with this, what's the word? Everybody now is? Privileged, entitled, right? I mean, because they don't deserve it, we just give it to them. And so the more we do that, the more precedent we set. Again, that's another word that I use, and I've understood this in leadership. Every decision you make sets a precedent. As parents, every decision. Oh, you shouldn't go over there, but I'll make an exception this time. Sets a precedent, right? I mean, so many times, and this is, you're going to hear me say this, I don't like participation awards. I'm not a fan of that. I grew up old school, right? I mean, if you play well, you're going to get a trophy. If you don't, you don't. That's the way life is. Is it harsh? Maybe, maybe not. That's the way life is. Do you get a raise just because you show up for work every day? Not always. Sometimes, that's not how it is, but yet we let everybody know that everybody's a winner. Well, I guess in theory, in reality, yes. But so we raise this entitled thinking. I mean, we tell our kids go, I'm going to watch video games or play video games, which is a big thing. Instead of just letting them do that, we say, well, if you do your chores, you get these done, then your reward is that you can spend some time playing a video game. They're 16 and want to buy a car. Instead of just buying the car, it could be, well, you put some money in with it. And because of that, then, you get the car. We just have so much entitlement. And you also know that when a kid buys a car, they take better care of it than when mom and dad do. I'll be honest with you. They do. It's theirs. Right? I mean, they wash it. They suddenly want to keep it clean because they have money invested in it. So again, we set a dangerous precedent. We raise entitled kids and want to give them something they didn't earn. Right? I mean, so again, I'm going to say this, and I have said this 1,000 times. I said it when I was parenting. We're not their peers. I got quiet. We're not our kids' peers. It's we don't go to consult with them on every decision. We are their parents. You can't be now, I think the older your kids get, there is a friendship, right? I mean, there is somewhat. But I will tell you, and I've talked to Rob about this, I sometimes say things to Jacob he doesn't like. I'm his dad. Now, he's 24. He can take my advice or leave it. I can't force it. But I see stuff, and I'm going to say stuff because I'm his dad. You never stop being a dad or a mom. You're always, I mean, your kids, they can kind of, at that point, do their own thing. But we're not their friends. We're not their peers. We're their parents. We're the ones, I believe, I don't know, I don't believe, I know. We're going to give an account for God for our kids. It says that, right? They're a gift. And so, we gotta take that extremely serious. Number 2, we give them praise they don't deserve. Oh, you're the smartest kid in the class, and they sit with the C average. No, you're not. You're not. I mean, maybe they're trying their best, and it's okay to say that. You know what? School just might not be your thing. That's okay. You're not the smartest kid in the class. Oh, you're the best athlete on the team, and they can't catch a ball. No, you're not. Man, if you want to play, that's great. You're not the best player on the team, right? And so our kids, a study's shown that, and they're conclusive, of overpraising actually hurts our children. The challenge is when praise is cheap, it robs our kids of confidence, and overpraising actually causes anxiety. Maybe that's why some of our kids have so much anxiety. We put them in sports, and maybe we weren't the star athlete, but we want our kids to be. So we push them, and we say, "Oh, you're the best." No, they're not. And it puts pressure on them because they know they're not, but mom and dad say they are. So we give gifts, we put pressure sometimes on our kids that causes this internal tension. And also when we sometimes rob them of putting their faith in God. You see, as parents, more than anything, it has to be their faith. We can, when they're younger, we can make them go to a faith community. We can, and I encourage that, right? Church wasn't an option. You go. Now, when you get older, if you want to stay home or whatever, but you're living with me, this is a priority. This is what we do. We teach them that God isn't something that we just come here and we hear about and we sing about, but it's life. Amen. And it's not a perfect life, mind you, right? I mean, we're Christ-centered, but in that Christ-centered life, there's issues and problems. And we had some friends in Mount Zion that, and I probably shared the story that, they were very affluent, lived in a nice neighborhood and all of that. He took a big pay cut, felt like God was leading him, right? And so again, they didn't have as much money. They did not want their kids to see him struggle. And we were both like, well, why would you not? Life's a struggle. It's okay. It's okay to get together and say, you know what, right now we're going through a tough time. Maybe you lost a job, or maybe got less money, or whatever that is. It's okay. God's good. God's faithful. Right now, we can't give you this. We don't have the money right now. Right? But, God has given us these blessings, and He's faithful. We don't need to let our kids, now granted, as parents, they can't see everything, right? Sometimes it isn't always pretty, but to the extent that they can see us follow Jesus in our struggles. Because if they don't, they grow up to have this faith that says life is perfect because they've been shaded, they've been shielded from everything. And then they grow up going, well, mom and dad didn't struggle. God must not love me. We rob them of putting their confidence in God. And honestly, it is the process that we go through as parents to take their dependency off of us and put it onto God. We can't fix their problems, right? Now, as little kids, we do a lot of things. They're dependent on us. But as they get older, man, we want that dependency to get off of us and put it on God. That He's their source. That when times are tough, He's their source. So number 3, we give them freedoms they can't handle. This is the crazy one to me. We do this. We all do this. Remember the first time you put your kid on a bus? Oh my gosh, they're getting on a school bus. They're going to hear words they've never heard before. Right? And that happens, right? Come home saying, hey, I heard this word. And our eyes get this big. Right? Or the first time they walked across the street. We're so cautious. But yet, the same parent, those of us, all of us, that are so cautious in those things, take one of these things, and I'm going to, smartphones, at 7 years old, or 5, or 4, or whatever it is now, we put it in their hand, and we go have fun. Now, we're worried about you crossing the street, and heaven forbid you hear an F word on a bus. Right? But we're going to give you this handheld device. You can look at anything in the world. Anything on there. It's craziness. We give them freedoms they are not prepared for. Our kids aren't prepared for what they see on their phones and on the computer, whether they're searching for it or not. I mean, you all know you type in one wrong adjective or whatever in a search, and suddenly you're viewing things, you're like, oh my gosh, where'd this come from? Well, your kids are also. Here's the other thing. And I had a good friend on the police department. I was with Decatur Police for 16 years. Jacob, I don't know if you remember Troy Ferris. So Troy Ferris was a friend of mine, Mount Zion. And I remember, and I don't know if he followed Jesus. They weren't church people, but really great people. And so I remember him saying, and his kids was the same age as Jacob. He said, parents, if you ever let your kids have their cell phone in their rooms at night. Now, I'm going to have some teenagers who are going to send me emails and all of those things because you may not like this. He said, you're making a huge mistake. Why? Because you don't need to be on your cell phone when you go to bed. And statistics show that kids that are on that, they're doing things they shouldn't. And this is coming from a cop. And I attended some other police type talks, and all of them said the same thing. You charge their phones in your room at night. Give them back to them during the day, but at night you don't let them, because a lot of times if they're on their phones late at night, it's not good. I mean, we hear about our kids hooking up with predators. I mean, this is and Dad said that this is an evil world. There's people that prey on our kids, and so we have to be smart. Again, are your kids going to like it? No. But we're not their friends. Sometimes you have to make decisions any parent ever made a decision your kids did not like. I hate you forever. Next week they come in and said, Dad, I kind of was a little harsh on that. You got $20? Right? Because we got to think about them honoring and trusting God. Because one day again, we want to transfer dependence off of ourselves onto God. Man, we don't want them to start life with a lot of issues. You know how hard life is for some